Welcome to the Shopify Happy Hour. Each episode of the Shopify Happy Hour, you will hear from Shopify founders, operators, and experts on growth marketing strategies, lessons learned from the trenches, and other nuggets of e-commerce wisdom shared over a different drink each episode. Today, I'd like to welcome Drea Groeschel, founder of Better Than Booze, which is an award-winning beverage brand that duplicates craft cocktail flavors for consumers seeking non-alcoholic options. Drea, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thanks so much for being here. I'm excited to have a chat with you, go through your background, talk about the brand, and also crack open some of these beverages that have been sitting in my fridge for a little bit, and I've been staring at them and be like, all right, one of these days we're gonna get this podcast going. I get to taste them. So
Yes.
Maybe we start with, if you can just talk about, let's say, the different varietals you have, the different types of beverages you have, and then I'll share the ones that I've picked out. And if you can just kind of walk through what each of these are, that would be awesome.
Love it. Love it. Yeah. So we actually have two different product lines. And one of the product lines is a fully sober mocktail. Okay. So it's a water-based carbonated beverage with some wonderful flavors added to taste like the cocktail flavors. We use real juices. We've, selected varieties of mint to put within the beverage that really give it an exceptional muddled mint flavor. And then on the other side of our product line, we have a low dose THC infused derived from hemp, which requires a hemp emulsion that is also infused into the beverage that of course gives a nice light sort of floaty buzz. So we really have those two options in the product lines, and we try to keep it simple in terms of the flavor profiles that we have put to the market, because I am someone who really enjoys a great craft cocktail. And so for me seeking alcohol alternatives, I was like, man, they're just, the non-alcs just like weren't doing it for me. And I really wanted to have something that satisfied my psyche through flavor. I'm a little bit of a foodie. Everybody knows me well. I'm a little bit of a food snob. So when I went forward to formulate these products, I was like, oh my gosh, they have got to taste like a dead-on duplication. And I think we nailed it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. We were just talking before we jumped on and started recording that you are in Nashville, and Nashville's a great foodie town. I know it's also a great party town from going there many years ago. So that's great. That's great. Well, let's dig into these beverages. So what I've got here, let's see. I've got the elderberry GNT.
Yes.
This is the entry level sort of inducing any sort of psychotic chill vibes. This is just purely a mocktail, correct?
Yes, that is purely a mocktail. And just so you know, the GT flavor happens to be my absolute favorite. I love a gin and tonic. And so we were able to develop something with this amazing elderberry piece to it, and it just like elevated the whole gin and tonic experience, and it is just awesome.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to crack this guy open.
Yes.
While I'm doing this, I've got two other versions. One is the grapefruit paloma.
Yes.
And then the ginger mule. Can you talk about what these are?
Yeah. The grapefruit paloma is probably our front runner in terms of bestseller. It's also our most highly awarded flavor. That paloma converts people. Like, they're like, oh, I don't know if I really like a paloma, or, I'm not really big on grapefruit. I'm like, just taste this. They'll knock your socks off. You will forever believe actually you are into grapefruit. We will convert you. And that paloma does exactly that. So it's like, it's so forward and tangy and fresh. People just love it. And then you have the mint mojito. Do you have that one as well? You probably have the mojito kicking around.
So I do, but it's not on my desk right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And that mojito, I mean, look, I went through over 100 varieties of mint to really get like this muddled mint flavor. And that was really important to, again, developing something that truly tastes like a fresh craft cocktail, like you were at a cocktail bar. So you just had the gin and tonic, right? You just sipped that?
Yes. Yes, this is the elderberry gin
Yes.
and tea, GNT.
Yes.
First thing, so when you first crack it, very scent forward, like really nice aromas,
Yes.
which are great, and it's delicious, effervescent, bubbly, very very much a fun party drink. Cheers much.
Cheers. I'm actually drinking the 2 milligram THC version, and I will tell you that The gin and tonic is my favorite, and it's my favorite, I think, because it has a little bit of that tonic bitter note to the back of it, but it really has the burst of sort of this botanical and berry front notes, right? Which kind of hits you in the up front. That's what you're getting, sort of, the nose first, and then you kind of sip it, and you're like, ooh, it's berry, it's lush. But then it kind of follows with a little bit of the bitter tones, which is really, sort of that cocktail piece that elevates it.
Nice. Well, yeah, in terms of so I typically, if I'm going out or drinking at home and drinking cocktails, I'm usually not doing mocktails, usually not. But this G&T would be a very good mocktail. It is very reminiscent of a nice, clean gin and tonic. So yeah, for any G&T fans out there, this is a very nice option if you want to enjoy the flavor and experience of one without having to worry about driving or not feeling so great the next morning.
Now, I noticed you put it in a glass, which I love, because we always tell people, like, again, like, you want to sort of, have an experience like you're having at a bar. You put it in a highball, you put it in a wine glass. You just really can make it feel special. But I will also say that our products are all in 12-ounce sleeks, and these are those like thinner cans. So they're kind of nice because you can like carry them around a family barbecue or at a party or something, and you're feeling like you're a part of it, even though you might be drinking a non-alc.
Nice. Well, next up, I'll be doing the one of the THC ones or CBD ones. So,
yeah.
So you mentioned something that I want to nerd out on a little bit. You said you went through 100 different varieties of mint. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah. So during the flavoring process, there are just so many variations of all sorts of ingredients out there that you didn't even know existed. And as I was learning about this and going, because I do not have food science background. I am not a formulator by trade. So I, of course, had to hire someone to help me with these formulations. And I really got to learn so much about how our palate perceives flavor and how salt and acidity and sweetness and tart and, and sour. Is sour the same as tart? No, they're different. And why? And so when you get into all these flavor variations and you want your product to be lovely and balanced, you really have to go through and blend a lot of different components to like nail it. And it's a tedious process. It's not really a one and done. It's not like, it's not like at home where like, I might mix up a little something at home, be like, yeah, that's pretty good. Let's roll with it. It's far more in depth. I mean, it took me over a year to develop these formulations to really nail them and get them. And we were tweaking it, just tweaking it and tweaking it and tweaking it. And there were moments when, of course, my palate is my palate, but someone else tasting this might get a completely different thing and be like, oh, it's too sweet. Oh, it's too sour. And you have to determine, are you going for something that you want, or are you going for something that your consumer is going to love? And where is that line with your product, which can be challenging to figure out. Because you want to love your product too.
Yep.
But you also want everyone else to love it.
Yep. Got it. Well, the GNT is very well balanced. So you did an excellent job there. All right. So next up, what would you recommend I go with? I've got sounds like the Paloma. Great.
You gotta go with Paloma. Now it looks like that Paloma is the no sugar Paloma that you have in your hand.
Okay.
There's a no sugar Paloma, and then we also have our regular Paloma, which does have sugar in it.
And then,
so for those out there with the no sugar, junkies, we've got no sugar versions available too.
Awesome. And then for the Ginger Mule, what's the difference with this guy? Because I see some of them are CBD plus THC, and others are just THC. Can you talk to me about that?
So the CBD really helps to balance out the THC effect, okay? And this is something that a lot of people are just getting educated on at this point, and we're learning as we go. As a new category of alcohol alternatives, this sort of low-dose THC, CBD, functional beverages, what is it? So we have a combination of 2 milligrams THC, 6 milligrams of CBD, which really makes the buzz or the head effect very, very mild, very, very light. Matter of fact, a name that most people would know would be the Grand Ole Opry. We're based in Nashville. We are the THC beverage that is carried at the Grand Ole Opry. And you can tell by a conservative outfit like the Opry carrying our product that it's very mild. They feel confident that almost anybody can drink one of these beverages and still be very within themselves. You don't have to be afraid of the effect that it's going to have on you. It might be like a half a glass of wine. Whereas a 5 milligram fully THC product that we also have, and you have in front of you, has a little bit different onset and a little bit of a different head high, because not only is it higher in the THC milligrams, but it also does not have CBD, which the CBD fights for the receptors with the THC within your body, and it sort of slows the THC process that your body is processing the THC, because it fights for the same receptors. Whereas if you just have THC, all the THC is going to those receptors immediately and will give you a little bit more of a head high and a little bit quicker.
That's cool. You're giving me quite the education in this stuff now. So I am going in the right order, because I started with the elderberry GNT, and then I went with the ginger mule because, as you know, I saw the label CBD plus THC, and I was like, oh, there's more stuff in it. I want this now.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
actually, I mean, because this is kind of the mid-level version.
Yeah, this is the low version. I mean, actually, we are one of the lowest THC products on the market. And I'll tell you, that came from yours truly. So I cannot handle, like, in general, I'm not a cannabis user and I don't do well on THC. So, like, I am someone who likes to stay within myself. I'm a bit of a control freak and I don't want to feel too high. I don't like it. So for me, the 2 milligram with the 6 of CBD is like the perfect, just like light buzzy feeling. Like I can be very much within myself and have a couple of those beverages and I am good to go. And I think that is, I really want people to know that if you're looking to try and you're curious, start with that really low THC content, like 3 milligrams or under, because that's where you'd want to start to feel out how it will affect your personal body, right?
Nice. Perfect. Well, the ginger mule also is very well done. I don't know if I've ever had a mule in a can.
Yeah, it's unusual.
But it works really well.
Yeah.
It's really, really nicely done. This is also, so far, from the two first drinks, both are very well balanced, very effervescent, clean. Neither are cloying, which I found can be the case with some other non-alcs out there. Or like too far in one direction, too sweet, too sour. So very nice job with product. I'm going to crack this other one in a little bit, especially after pouring. So I'll give it a few.
Sounds good.
Should we dig into some marketing stuff? What do you think?
Let's do it. Yes.
Let's do it. Awesome. So tell us a story about Better Than Booze. Why'd you start it and how'd you get into it?
Yeah, so Better Than Booze really began with the idea of, I didn't want to invite my girlfriends over to hang out at the lake and offer them gummies. I would much prefer to invite guests over and offer them a beverage. And this was THC forward at the time. And I was like, can we put a THC emulsion in a beverage? Now, this is only like 4 years ago. But yet at the time, there were so few canned beverages with any type of THC emulsions. The technology really wasn't there at the time. However, a very good friend of mine, an entrepreneur, had started another company that was really all about cannabis. And he said, we actually have something that might work for that. And so we really joined forces and started to look at avenues by which we could create a beverage with this low dose hemp derived THC component. And I was, again, like, I'm not a big THC person. So I was like, I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know if I really want to drink that. Would I truly choose that instead of my glass of wine at night? Turns out the answer is yes. I do, actually, because I feel much better on it, right? I don't have any hangover. I don't get headaches. So it cleared up. And hey, people, I'm over 40. Things change when you get over 40. And so I had to cut back my alcohol intake, and we were all moving towards this wellness movement. And so 3-4 years ago, it was like, hey, let's try to develop this. But I wanted my cocktail flavors. I wanted to feel like I was sitting on my back deck, sipping a cocktail, even though it didn't have alcohol. And that was really the beginning, was to create some kind of a social beverage that was a cut above the non-alc category, would still give us a light, relaxing feeling, because everyone wants to relax, but don't want to put the gin in the gin and tonic anymore or as much, right? So that's really where it came from. And it's just snowballed from there to the point of we are growing so fast. We've only been in the market for about 2 years, and our growth is just skyrocketing. It is wild. The whole non-alcoholic, along with the THC products and functional beverages, is just like it's a hot topic right now, and I'm excited to see where the movement goes because I don't think it's just a quick trend. I think it's here to stay. I think it's a societal, cultural shift.
It makes sense. I mean, as the younger generations grow up and kind of the older generations who were more anti CBD, marijuana, all that stuff, THC, as they
Yeah.
sort of move on, I think, there's just a lot more acceptance for this kind of stuff. And why not, right? Because it's a much more chill way to be. Like, I've never been much into THC, marijuana growing up, really. It's more in like, hey, me and my buddies would go drink beers or go to the bar or, anything like that, right? But recently I've been trying different beverages that have nootropics, others that have more, THC in it. And it's really nice because the day after drinking even a couple cocktails, you get a little headache. It's harder to wake up early and get that workout in. So it's nice to be able to have that chill, relaxed experience without having any bad repercussions the next day. So that's great that your business is growing so quickly. So what do you attribute that to? So it sounds like right place, right time, right? So
Yep.
you built this product, you latched onto something where there's growing demand for, but what else?
So, of course, I'm a CPG entrepreneur of 2 decades. So, my experience has always been start with your product first. Your product has to be exceptional. And what that means in today's day, 20 years ago, you could create something that was like pretty good. And you could have a pretty good website. You could have a pretty good manufacturer, and you could get by and get a business going. 2024 into 2025, everything has to be great. You have to have a great product with great packaging, with a great website, with right, and it's just the bar is set so much higher. So our success early on was truly from a product focal point and saying we want to make sure that when people taste this beverage, they're like, "Holy beep," and it's really exciting to them and it's unexpected, right? And I think that that's also very important is to be the little unexpected piece to their day that they're like, wow, that was interesting. Then they remember who you are, then they remember the name, and they keep coming back. So I like to say, really start with your product first. Doesn't mean your product has to be perfect. If it's perfect, you'll never get to market, right? If you want it to be perfect, but it does have to be really great.
That's a great point. When I chat with brand owners, in digital marketing, e-commerce, it's easier than ever to launch a product, right? Because there's more manufacturers, there's more packaging companies, there's more distributors, 3PLs. But with that ease of use and ease of marketing and being able to get in front of everybody by getting, running Facebook ads, TikTok ads, Google ads, Pinterest, name your platform, you can get across basically anybody in the world, right? If you've got enough money for it or you've got some crazy good content. But with that ease of getting to market means there is a ton more competition. So, we'll chat with brand owners sometimes who have got uh, not a great product or what I call like a Me Too product, where it's the same product, they're drop shipping something that 1,000 other vendors are selling. And it's sort of like, okay, maybe you can have some quick success, but it's going to be pretty hard because you've got crazy competition. Even if you don't launch a dropship product that tons of other people are selling, if you just are selling a product that's just okay, there's just too many options. So you really need to have a banger product from the beginning where people will say, holy shit. And I think we could say that and kind of, this is like
I
podcast
wasn't
number five,
sure.
but I don't think anybody's going to shut us down for saying that. So I think we're good. And you know what? It's called the Shopify Happy Hour. So if people are okay with it, maybe not the right podcast for you. So yeah, product first. I love that you're saying that because anybody listening to this, if you're considering starting a brand or if you're early on with your brand, get your product right. That's the most important thing, right? Because if you just have a product that you think is like, it's pretty good, at some point, either you're going to get bad reviews, you're not going to get word of mouth, you're not going to get engagement on your ads because people are going to realize you're not living up to its expectations.
Yeah, and you have to keep working on it. Don't think that the product you put out today is going to be the product that you're going to be putting out a year from now. You have to take the feedback and continue to iterate. SaaS companies are conditioned to iterate. They know they're going to be constantly iterating. I think CPG product people, because it's expensive and because there's stock involved, it's a little bit more challenging to iterate, but it has to be still a constant mindset. Oh, we're going to be doing a new production run in 3 months. Well, guess what? My labels are going to change again for like the 20th time because I've learned more. Now I've learned gluten-free is important, so that needs to go on the front. Or I've learned that maybe, people desire to know sugar. I need to put out a new product to carry a different segment of consumer. So really listening is also a big, important piece to understanding your consumer and your channel and your market and how you want to approach it from the product side and your iterations that will continue thereafter. But also, I do want to stress that a lot of people ask me about competition, and in beverage, it's very saturated. There's so many beverages out there. I mean, go to your liquor store, go to your grocery store. The amount of beverages on the shelf is like overwhelming. I'm a firm believer too in analyze your competition, but leave it there. So we do competitor analysis every quarter or so. We're looking at the market. What are they priced at? What flavors are they putting out? Who's their target consumer? Has that shifted? What channels are they going into? Where are they gaining ground? And then I leave it there. Once I have that analysis and I've gained information from it, I continue on and I never think about them again. And the reason for that is it can get overwhelming. And I'm a big advocate of put your blinders on, focus on you, focus on your brand. You keep chiseling away at what you believe is right, what your feedback is from your consumers, and make your iterations and go to the market. You don't have to look at what everyone else is doing. You don't have to do what everyone else is doing, because what will work for some brands will not necessarily work for yours.
I love it. That's a great way to avoid being a copycat, right? Because otherwise, brands will just try to copy everything a leader in the market is doing, and they might have success, but you might not doing the same exact stuff because they might have been there first, or they might have some type of advantage or moat that you don't have. So you could try to do the exact same thing and it might not work. So I love that, where you're saying to kind of stick to what you believe is right. So can we go back to, you mentioned you've updated the product a bit, where you've learned that, okay, maybe some consumers are looking for a product without sugar.
Yeah.
Gluten-free is also important. How are you learning that? Like, how are you getting those consumer insights? And what does that process look like?
Sure. So we do it in a variety of ways, really. So we've been building an email list. And so we will literally send out a survey to our email list. And it doesn't matter if you have a 200-person email list or a 10,000-person email list. See if you can get your consumers to respond and tell them and ask them, I tend to do it something like, hey, we're looking at developing new products. What is important to you? As a brand fan, what's important to you? And, is that no sugar? Is that a different flavor? Is that a different THC content for us? Is that right? So a consumer might write in and say, well, I've seen you in a lot of stores. How come I can buy a 4-pack online, but I can't buy it in the store? Or I'd rather see this 4-pack in store. It's more convenient for me to purchase it. Or I wish you would do more no shipping fees. Or listen to what the consumer is saying. So by email, right, survey, we also literally just boots on the ground. Go out, and if you're at a farmer's market or you're at a festival and you're presenting your product for sale there, or even just for sampling, grab your iPad, have a Google Doc, a Google form ready to go with like 5 questions that are real fast that you can just ask people on the fly. You'd be surprised. Everyone loves sharing their opinion. They'll give it to you. Take it, consolidate it, and sort of understand what direction. Because here's the thing. I think early on it's hard because you do have to kind of stick to your guns. You have to go to market and get going, right? You got to get going, got to start getting the wheel turning, your online side, maybe you're going wholesale as well and you want to get the wholesale wheel turning. It's probably about 6 months in before you're going to start to get feedback that is meaningful from enough people. Ideally you're able to get 500 as a minimum from feedback on something. But if you start hearing it over and over again, don't deny it. Like, I love my sugar. I'm like, don't fuck with my sugar. I'm okay with a little sugar. Some people are not. And so I kept hearing that over and over again. I thought, okay, we need to address this. And we have a consumer that enjoys our product and our profiles, but is really seeking a no sugar option. So we went ahead and put one out.
Fantastic. Very much appreciate you talking about getting in-person feedback, because I think a lot of people start e-commerce brands and they think, okay, cool, so I can sell online, I can work online from anywhere. Yes, I've got to figure out, building the product and distribution, all that, all the physical stuff. But the digital side, they're like, oh, I can run emails through Klaviyo, and I can run Google ads, Facebook ads, and I can create all these TikTok videos and people are going to buy my stuff, and I don't have to really interact with them. I can just promote all this stuff online. But the feedback you can get in person from somebody is, I don't know, like 100 times as valuable as a random comment. Yeah, you want to consolidate all the digital learning somehow. And if people are saying the same thing over and over again, like, hey, we'd love a no sugar version or sugar-free version, that's great. But the stuff you can just get in person, I found, especially if people don't necessarily, if it's more agnostic feedback where you just say, hey, we're representing the brand, and maybe they don't know exactly you're the brand owner, because some people don't hurt your feelings, right? So you want to say, hey, we're just taking feedback for the brand. What do you think? That can go a long way, because then people open up, right?
Oh my gosh, 100%. I literally never tell anybody who I am. So like, I was at a bar recently at like a restaurant here in Nashville.
For work, of course, for work. I was at a bar for work.
I was at a bar for work. And I ordered a Better Than Booze. And I'm sitting there drinking it, and this gentleman sat down next to me, and he was like, what do you think about that beverage? Well, I said, well, have you had it? And so we started this conversation about it. He didn't know who I was, didn't know I'm brand founder, but I gained some insight there. And what was also interesting, and I've heard this over and over again, just by being out in the field, people will also tell you things that obviously are not necessarily on your survey, because you're going to get into conversation. And one of the pieces of feedback we get all the time is people like the feel of the can. It's something I never aimed for. It's something I never thought was a thing. But like, literally, we will be out at events. People are like, oh my God, I just love how your can feels in my hand. Like, it's got a nice feel to the label. And of course, we were recently presented with, some folks trying to take the business from that labeler to another labeler, right? And I'm like, sorry, man, I can't switch. Like, people love the feel of this can. So now I guard against it, even though it's something I never even, considered from a feedback standpoint that was important.
That's so I never would have thought about the tactile, feeling of a can as a brand differentiator, but it's a little bit of like a matte finish.
Yep.
So it's a little stickier, less glossy, so probably less likely to slip. So I get it.
Yeah,
that's
it's
cool. And that's
kind of
a really
wild.
Shader that is just so subtle that I wasn't even thinking about that.
Oh, here's a good one.
Yep.
So this also goes to show you like how a consumer or someone not in your business will perceive something. We had a variety pack box that had a big 2X and then the flavor name. 2X elderberry gin and tonic, 2X mojito, 2X Paloma. And our point on the box was that is 2 cans, right? You get 2 of these, 2 of these, and 2 of these. But what came forward out of that was they were like, is it 2 times like the Paloma flavor? Is it 2 times the mojito? Like, you guys are aggressively like, we're putting in double the mojito flavor. No, that is not what we were doing. We were expressing that there are 2 cans of each within the pack. So it's funny because sometimes what you think is you're in the business and you're so entrenched and you got your blinders on, you're doing your thing. When you take it out to people that are not in your business and don't see your stuff every day, sometimes they'll give you feedback that you're like, oh, wow, that wasn't so obvious.
Love it.
Yeah.
Trey, I gotta say the ginger mule effects are taking over a little bit.
Oh, good.
Feeling nice and chill.
Love, love.
Nice chill vibes, which is wonderful. I'm going to move over to the Paloma in a few, but
Yes.
yeah, the ginger mule. This is the CBD plus THC, and it's just like a very chill vibe. Still super focused. You know, I had some green tea earlier, and I'm still riding that focus wave. But who knows? It might also be some of the CBD, but it's like a very,
Yep.
very subtle chill. Super nice.
Yes. Good. Good,
Super
good.
nice. Good
Love
stuff.
it.
All right. Well, let's talk marketing. We've talked,
Yes.
everything we did was somewhat marketing, right? Because product is marketing, especially nowadays as a differentiator. Your packaging is marketing. Having a matte finish on a can is marketing. But can you talk about some strategies? Like what strategies have you used to get the word out
Yep.
about your brand? What have you done that's worked? What have you done that has not worked?
Sure. I think a lot of that comes down to budget. And I will say to most people, really keep everything simple in the beginning when you're small. And by that I mean if you're under $1 million in revenue, keep it simple. You don't have to complexify things to gain revenue. So, for example, we started out with a very simple website. Didn't have a lot of bells and whistles. Didn't have the fancy, 3D stuff happening. We decided to ditch video. Now there'll be a lot of, you'll be out there reading all the latest, like, oh, video converts better, or this converts, but like, what resources do you actually have that you can utilize to get things going? And so I like to tell everybody, it's the old KISS, keep it simple, stupid, analogy. And you don't need all of the plugins at first. So start simple and get a website that is functional, can take orders, you understand how it tracks all the way through on shipping. And then like down the road, when you start gaining enough customer bases, oh, hey, I want to upsell a product at cart level. Okay, well, that's a plugin. Okay, what does that mean? Because as soon as you start layering all of these plugins in, you start to have some more technical system aspects that often will require maybe outsourced management or for you to learn a lot very quickly. So I like to really stair-step things. I don't necessarily think you need to put subscription in immediately. I like to know that my customers have positive feedback and are going to be interested in subscription before I put the subscription module in place. So I like to keep it simple and slow grow it. How we get the word out is done in various ways, but I will say we are not a direct-to-consumer brand first. We are a wholesale brand first. So from Better Than Booze standpoint, we really like to marry the physical world with the digital world. And my favorite thing to see is we do a lot of events. We are really big on like street teaming. We're big on setting up a booth at a craft fair. We'll set up a booth at a food and wine festival. So we put a lot of our effort there because what we have seen is that when people are walking by, maybe they're in the line, maybe they did a taste test and they just love the product and they walked away, they will go online and look for it. And we see these spikes happen, okay, during these events. So not only can I usually cover my costs at events by way of how much I'm selling, so it's sort of a zero sum there, but then on the online side, we know who our consumers are looking at us, they're placing in cart. Now it's a matter of can we capture that all the way through the funnel. So I like to blend the two. I find it very effective. Of course, running ads, but in my opinion, again, ads, you really have to be ready for a reasonable ad budget. Today, the costs are so high to convert consumers that is it's a strategy you have to be willing to play ball in for quite some time and do a lot of maneuvering and a lot of spend to get where it's actually growing your business in a way that is meaningful and continues to have enough margin to support the business going forward.
What advertising have you tried?
Oh, we have done it all, Dan. And I'm going to speak broadly from all of the other companies I've been a part of as well. I mean, I've done everything from billboards to mailers. We've done influencers. We've done, of course, Google ads, Meta ads. We have done, of course, the event side of it, running tastings. We've done street teaming. We have a van with our logo on it that we have parked in front of certain things at certain times to capture that audience visibility onto the brand. We've done a hot air balloon.
Nice.
You can really let your mind go to crazy places when you think about what you can do from a marketing standpoint to get the brand in front of people. And if you have a strong brand and you have a good product, usually that consumer will follow through.
Fantastic. Let's talk retail.
Yeah.
I like that you're saying that you've got it's kind of a retail first or wholesale first. That's the first priority, followed up with D2C. So how are you finding new retailers to get into?
So we were fortunate to garner the attention of a distributor early on. So my first year, we were able to get into distribution through an alcohol distributor in Tennessee. And I will tell you, you just have to be relentless about calling people, and you have to not feel badly that you are going to persist and pursue the conversation to all ends, to where you just wear the person down to where they finally respond and they're like, okay, sorry I haven't responded to you for the past 6 months of your emails coming through. However, let me send you to so-and-so who actually handles this category. And you're like, yes, I finally got a lead in. And then of course you have to be prepared for that conversation. Make sure you have a pitch deck. Tell them about your brand and why they need to carry your brand. And of what value do you bring to their portfolio that maybe they don't have already from a portfolio standpoint. So what makes you different? And then from there, of course, that's only one piece of the puzzle, because that might get your product onto shelf. But if you want to get more and more retailers and push that retail chain, you have to literally go knock on the doors. And that might be you doing it yourself to start. I did. When I first started Better Than Booze, I literally went to the liquor stores and said, hey, hi, you don't know me, you don't know my brand. Actually, I've never even been in the beverage business before, so I don't even really know how you guys work, but I think I have a cool product for you. And I'll tell you, 90% of the time, I got turned away and told over my dead body, will I carry your product? Some people can be very rude. Don't let it bother you. Just roll it off the shoulder and be like, cool, I'll see you in another 30 days. And then circle back with them again. Be like, remember me? I'm the annoying person that saw you 30 days ago. My beverage is now in X, Y, and Z stores, and they're doing well with it. I think you should consider it. No, it's not for us. Okay, I'll see you in another 30 days. Come back in another 30 days. Every 30 days, you should be building more and more case study at whatever retailers you can get. Your local mom and pop. Visit it's a snack food. See if you can get into delis. See if you can get into, your local bakery. See where you can try to get any case studies possible that will then help you bring forward the story of success and how and why that retailer that you're talking to should carry your product. Margin's a big thing. You want to make sure that retailer is going to get the margin that they need. So, and if you don't know what a retailer margin is, or there's plenty of times when I'm like, I don't actually have any idea as to what margin this retailer has to make on my product. So I'll just ask them. No question is off limits, folks. Like, you just ask. Do not be afraid to ask. People will want to help you. And so I literally will say, I don't know what kind of margin you guys get. What is it? And they'll be like, oh, we tend to see 25 to 30%. And I go, oh, okay. I'm in the pocket. Here's through my distributor and this, you'll make a 26% margin. And they're like, oh, okay, that's a good start. So just ask if you don't know. People will tell you, but persistence.
Love it. So persistence, tenacity, direct outreach, going there directly. It looks like you've got distribution Northeast, Southeast. So are those all through direct contact, or has there been other strategies to get into places a little bit farther out from where you are?
Yep. We've done a little bit of both. So for us, again, early on, we were actually reaching out to, I have family in different states. Some of my employees have friends and family in other places, and be like, hey, what's your local convenience store look like? What's your local retailer look like? Do you think that they would carry our products? And can you get a name of the manager for me? And it starts there, and then it's a cold call right? And say, hey, just want to let you know about my brand. Can I send you some samples? Sending samples. And once we started getting a little bit of more and more traction that way, and of course, locally and regionally, we're knocking on doors, then you start getting, again, that distribution piece to put in place. And you're saying, hey, distributor in New York, I already have 50 accounts in the Hudson Valley region. It's time for me to have a distributor. Would you be interested in this book of business? And that's what the distributors want to hear. They want to hear you're already there, you've already gained a little bit of traction, you already understand who your account is and what your price points are, and then they'll pick you up.
I think so much of consumer psychology or just human psychology is going back to high school or middle school or elementary school, and it's all the cool kids are doing it, right?
Yeah.
So like all the cool kids are doing something, like you want to be there. And when you're approaching retailers and just saying, hey, I've got this new product and nobody is carrying it, but we want you to test it, people are going to be like, I don't know if nobody else is doing it, right? But when you can approach somebody and say, hey, all your competitors in the region are carrying this thing and it's selling like gangbusters, you're missing out. Are you ready to get this going? That's a whole different conversation.
Your first 100 retail accounts are the most difficult to get. Once you've gotten some traction going and you've got some case studies you can speak to, you can get the rest happening for sure. And now, of course, we have sales reps you can hire people for commission. You can hire people that rep various products in different categories, and they might have some additional network connections that they can utilize to get you into some, small chains. And then you go to regional chains, and then you build out to national chains. And so there really is a progression. I always tell people, don't expect to see incredible velocity and a high rate of product sales and Walmart knocking at your door in like the first year. It's so unusual. And the stories we all hear of this company, like a Liquid Death, or, there's lots of products out there, Prime, they're either celebrity backed, they're venture backed, or someone had a little bit of a stroke of luck of viral and they went viral and it's just like, it's massive. Well, if going viral was that easy and we could all plan it and schedule it and figure it out, like everybody would be doing it. It is the holy grail, but there's a lot of, it's a combination of brilliance and luck. I feel like sometimes that coincides at the right time and it works. But the rest of us, if you have not gone viral or you don't have a celebrity to back your company, you really do have to look at it as growing a solid business. One foot in front of the other, step by step, you can get it there. It's just a lot of hard work, a lot of hours put in.
Awesome. So you've shared lots of lessons on your journey. You started Better Booze a couple years ago, is that right?
Yep.
2022? Yeah. So even though it's only been a couple years, let's pretend you were starting over, knowing everything you know now, and you wanted to build a new business from zero to your first $1 million in revenue. Let's say it's another beverage brand, and you wanted to do that on a shoestring budget. How would you do it, and what would you do differently?
I wouldn't do it. That's that. Beverage in particular is extremely difficult to bootstrap by way of the necessary minimum co-packer runs. Unlike barbecue sauce or cookies, you can utilize commercial kitchens and smaller co-pack opportunities to small batch and grow your company. Beverage in particular, your small batch is like, X amount of thousands of cans. And so it's a little tricky that way from a scale standpoint. It's very hard. But from a bootstrap standpoint, I think, if I were really to give advice on that, I would say the same thing I said before, which is keep it simple. You really don't have to, if you have a good product and you speak well to the brand and you know who your consumer is, you don't really have to buy in to all of the glitz and the glamour and the billboards and the signs that are at the big stores or people wearing aprons with your brand on it. You don't have to do that. You can show up in your t-shirt with a crappy tablecloth that hasn't been ironed and make a run at it and still do very well if you have a good product. So I would say just Keep it simple. Don't get sucked in. Don't get sucked into, oh, I have to pay influencers. Don't get sucked into that, because it is, and those types of strategies, if you're going to put money towards something, make sure that money is going to convert. So if you only have a few $100s to spend, I would spend it where I know it's going to convert versus where I think maybe we might have a stroke of luck and something might happen. And by that, I mean, and we talk about this in my company all the time. If I have a couple $1,000, I'm going, well, we can spend it over here at this music festival and really hope that our name gets out there and hope that something cool happens and hope that our can makes it backstage and the celebrity drinks it and oh my gosh, it's gonna be big. Or I can spend that $1,000 and run 7 tastings at local retailers that help that consumer that frequents that store every Tuesday. Now they know who we are. They've tasted our beverage. They love it. They bought it for trial, and they'll come back and remember the brand. Early on, I would place my bets there if you have limited budgets and you're bootstrapping. Things that you can do yourself, right?
Great. All right. So we just have a few minutes left, so let's move on to the speed round. So each answer for the next few questions in like 30 or 60 seconds or less. So what is one of your most recommended books?
Into Thin Air.
Into Thin Air. I haven't heard of that. What's that?
It's a mountaineering book about Everest. It's amazing story.
Okay. Awesome. Fantastic. I will check that one out. What is an under the radar product or brand you've used and like, but most people don't know about?
I have it right here on my desk. It's called Dafu sauce. Dafu sauces. The most amazing Asian sauces made by a local natural family of all time. I hope they go big.
Nice. Awesome. Another thing to check out. You're giving me some good tips here. And what is one thing in life that you do better than most people, and how do you do it?
I cook a amazing salmon Wellington. Likely that's not what you're talking about. All kidding aside. One thing I do, I think, best in life is mentor young people that are looking to get into business or are looking to start a CPG company. I love helping people learn from the mistakes I've made.
Awesome. What's your trick with salmon Wellington? Because that is not easy to make.
It's not easy to make. Leeks and cream cheese as the base. It's like to die for, and it keeps the moisture within the pocket of the phyllo layer. So.
Perfect. Drea, where can people connect with you to learn more, either about yourself or about your brand?
Sure, absolutely. Drinkbetterthanbooze.com is a great place to view us. Betterthanbooze.com on all socials. Reach out to us, DM us. Like I'm an open book, so if you ever want to get in touch with me, same thing. Find me on LinkedIn or just DM the company, and you will get to me.
Awesome. Drea, thank you so much for bringing Better Than Booze to market and providing non-alcoholic options for all of us who want some different options and not feel so bad the next day after getting some chill vibes. Thanks also for sharing your expertise and insights with our audience, and for joining us on this episode of the Shopify Happy Hour.
Thank you so much, Dan. Appreciate it.